Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, I assume you know what? I'm excited to get his take on this, actually. He is currently the only sportscaster who calls NBA, NFL, MLB, and the National Hockey League. Tonight, he'll be on the call for Game 3 down in Florida in a series that's tied 1-1. First game goes to overtime. Second game goes to double overtime. We're talking about the two best teams in the league. We're talking about one of the best voices in the history of sports. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who's been broadcasting since 1990. Wow. I was 3 years old.
4.
Holy hell, what a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Albert.
Hey, Kenny!
How are you, Kenny?
You were 3, Pat. I think I was 7 at the time, back in 1990.
Yeah, but you nailed it. You nailed it at 3 or at 7 years old. You were unbelievable, just like you are now. Thank you for joining us. I want to just kind of set the table to get your take on this. I assume you love college sports. You seem like you're just a sports guy in general. College sports is at a wild time, and we all appreciate the fact that players are making money. It's the wild, wild west. Now the schools are going to be paying a salary. Then there's also going to be NIL. All we care about is that the sports don't get ruined, right, Kenny? That's kind of the thought at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't get to see as much college football as you might think because I'm always at an NFL city over the weekend. We'll have it on Saturdays, but you can't fully pay attention. But I'm a big college sports fan, love college basketball. And, you know, when I was growing up back in the 70s and 80s, I think back to Big East basketball, Georgetown, St. John's, Syracuse, Villanova. You knew which schools were in which conference, right? The players stayed for 3 or 4 years. The conferences never changed. So that was sort of the glory days, in my opinion, of college basketball. It's changed a lot since then, you know, a lot for the better. But as far as what you're talking about, it is hard sometimes to follow which players playing for which school, which schools and which conference. But, you know, I guess that's for a lot smarter people than me to figure out.
Hopefully Sheriff Seeley's able to figure that out of the MLB. I'm sure you know him with all your work you've done in baseball. Let's talk about the NHL. Let's talk about a Stanley Cup final that is living up to the hype. Back-to-back games in overtime, second game in double overtime. What are your thoughts on how the boys are playing right now, and what should we expect for tonight, Kenny?
Well, it's been an unbelievable series so far, and I appreciate you having me on. I think the last time we chatted was during the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago between Vegas and Florida. Our NHL on TNT crew covered that one. Rotates every year, so our friends over at ESPN had Florida, Edmonton last year, and now we're thrilled to be back on the series this year. And I don't mean to, you know, start with a name drop, but regards, Pat, from about 20 minutes ago, I was with Eddie Olczyk and Wayne Gretzky having lunch here at the hotel. And Wayne was telling us about, you know, what a great time he had on with you last week. And, you know, Eddie remembers meeting you back in the day when he was playing for the Penguins and coaching the Penguins. So those guys say hello, first off.
Well, geez. Hey, Kenny, will you please tell the great one and Eddie Ol that I said hello and I'm a massive fan as well. The fact that Wayne Gretzky came on our show, absurd. He was so kind to us. So kind to us. What a legend, Kenny. What a legend.
He's the best. As good a player as he was, he's even a better person. And I mentioned to him that I was about to come on, and he said, I had such a great time with Pat last week. Please pass that along to him. So
thank you, Wayne. We had a great time too, Wayne.
Wayne and Eddie Olczyk and Brian Boucher and Darren Pang were with us as well. Those guys love you. But as far as this series, games 1 and 2, and I don't think I'm the only one that feels this way because I've been around a lot of other media people, TV and radio people for this entire series. Among the best games we've ever witnessed in person as far as the hockey. The level of play, you know, you mentioned 2 unbelievable teams. The first game felt like an extension. It felt like Game 8, an extension of last year's Stanley Cup final. And then on to Game 9. And, you know, when you look at both first periods, a combined 8 goals scored in the first periods of the 2 games. The Florida Panthers had the lead going into the third period in both games. Edmonton ties it, sending it to overtime. The late goal by Corey Perry. We've had 4 lead changes, 2 overtime, you know, thrillers. So, you know, we certainly hope, those of us involved in this series and for the viewers and the fans, hopefully it goes 7 and we have 5 more overtime games.
Amen. More hockey, more free hockey. We love it. Stanley Cup Finals living up to everything we could have dreamed of in this finals rematch. Go ahead, AJ.
Kenny, what's it like being in person, watching Connor McDavid move up and down that ice, and just how fast he is? Is it, when we watch on TV, I get a sense of it, but I would imagine in person that's something special to witness.
Oh, jeez.
Well, AJ, I know you're very close to some players around the NHL, some family members, and I'm sure they've told you the stories about what it's like to be on the ice with a Connor McDavid. I was chatting with one of the referees who's involved in the series, and he said, Nathan McKinnon's probably number 2, but as far as the speed, there's nothing like McDavid. And when he gets going and skates through the neutral zone, and McKinnon's probably the guy in the league who's next on the list, as far as being close to McDavid. In Edmonton, we have the good fortune, our broadcast booth is down low. It's on the first concourse level. It's about 25 rows up right behind the stands. It's a great view. The press box there, where some of the other broadcasters are, is pretty high up. But to watch those first 2 games from not right against the glass, but a lot closer to the ice than we usually do. And when he gets going, it's just something special to watch. And then you throw in Leon Draisaitl and, some of the other unbelievable players in this series. And on the other side, you watch what Sam Bennett's been doing in the playoffs and Brad Marchand. No, not as far as the speed of McDavid, but just some of the plays they've been making. But, it'll be fascinating tonight with Florida having the last change. Will they try to get Barkov out there as much as possible against McDavid? Which defense pairing will they try and get out? So we'll keep an eye on the chess match. But just getting back to AJ's original question, it's just a different speed. We were talking about it with Wayne, a little while ago. I think his son joked to him, imagine if you had McDavid's speed back in the day, and Wayne looked like he was twice as good as any other player that was out there during his entire career. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Wayno with McDavid's speed would have been certainly something to watch. Because he said, we'd get 10 pounds of sweat in the old leather skates to kind of slow you down a little bit. Hey, don't you? Sorry about it. That cooking that he did, that's in the Stanley Cup Final.
Insane. Oh, yeah.
That's not like game 1 or game 2. That's like game 40, middle of the season. Like, that's
Those
drag.
are pretty good defenders, too.
Yes, it's the Stanley Cup Final. 2 best teams.
Those moves he made in the past, just incredible.
Hi. See ya. Stanley Cup Final. This is not an all-star game. People are trying. There's a Lord Stanley Cup on the line. Okay, let's move along here and talk about you, Kenny, on the call. We can't wait to hear you yet again tonight. Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Kenny, when you look around every broadcaster, or most broadcasters who are, worth their salt, you're certainly in that conversation. Mike Breen's got Bang, and there are a laundry list of others. You don't really have an opportunity to do it in hockey as much, but one of my favorite things about watching you on the call is you just get a quick, concise, yes! You pop that in time and time again. I don't know if that's like considered your trademark because it's got a little bit of your dad in there too, but do you consider that a trademark? How did that come to be? And if you can you maybe pepper like 50 to 60 of those into the game tonight?
Yes.
It's funny in hockey. You're right. Mike Breen has the tremendous bang call, and I know there was a little controversy because he didn't use it for Halliburton. And I read an article where he said it's mostly for 3-point shots, not 2-point shots.
Okay. More national media bullshit.
That's what I read. I don't know. That's what I read the other day.
I know. I read it too. I'm not thrilled about it. We deserved a bang there.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Go ahead.
People often ask me about signature calls, and do you have a prepared line, for example, when the team wins the Stanley Cup? And I don't write out a whole paragraph, but I do get some phrases, some key words and phrases in my mind. When I worked the 2021, Tampa Bay Lightning won the Cup. They had won the previous year as well. So I was throwing some words around and came up with lightning strikes twice. So when the game ended, lightning strikes twice, the Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup. With Vegas 2 years ago, it was the silver trophy to the Golden Knights. So that was what I used on that. And then this year we had the Ovechkin record-breaking game. Speaking of Wayne Gretzky, and we were lucky enough to be there with our TNT crew back in early April on Long Island, and he had scored 2 goals in the previous game to tie the record, and I was watching that in a hotel room in Atlanta. And I had been thinking about, what I would possibly do if he scored that goal, and I was throwing around in my mind, he's the great 8, and Wayne's the great 1, and then Joe Beninati, who does a terrific job on Washington Capitals games, He sort of used that for the tying goal for 894.
Oh, no.
So I said, well, I can't go in that direction now because Joe did it for the tying goal. So when he scored that goal, 895, it kind of came out naturally, the goal call. And then I got in the number 895, but then I got out of the way. And in TV, what we call laying out. And there have been a couple of other occasions in my career, the Bautista home run and bat flip back in 2015, some other big overtime series winners. I just shut up and get out of the way. And so many other great broadcasters, Joe Buck comes to mind, and many others do the same thing. They let the pictures tell the story and the sounds from the arena or the stadium. And it's ironic. Some of the biggest praise that play-by-play announcers get is when we don't say anything, when we shut up and get out of the way. And that was my philosophy with the Ovechkin goal. I know on the Corey Perry tying goal, I yelled score twice. Maybe I was thinking about Mike Breen with the double bang. I don't know. On some of the big goals, and I think I did it, for some other big goals. We had that great Winnipeg-St. Louis game 7, when Winnipeg was down 3-1 and scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes and won the game in overtime. So sometimes you let it just come out naturally and then shut up and get out of the way.
Are you honey? You drinking honey? What do we? Do you got some stuff for the voice? What's the voice work?
Very fortunately, knock on wood, I haven't had many issues through the years, and we deal with a lot of late flights and early mornings. Hall's cough drops are probably my secret remedy.
Yes.
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea unless I have a sore throat. A lot of Diet Coke. So I'm a big Diet Coke guy, but as far as the throat, the Hall's cough drops, that's about it.
Okay. Well, the voice always sounds so pure.
Yeah.
It always sounds so damn great. I'm very envious. Just know that. Because I'll wake up on a random Tuesday and it'll just be nothing. I'm like, what the hell happened? Oh, I must have slept with my mouth open last night. Okay. So now you're.
You guys have to talk for hours, so you have to preserve that voice, right?
Yeah, I know, and I try to. That's why I asked. That's why I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Every person that's a singer, I try to ask them what they do. Some of them have some real interesting. Some of your favorite singers,
Really?
Like what?
Weird remedies.
Like what?
like the like a Vicks steamer.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen older generations of. Gumpy's laughing. Gumpy was there with me. Gumpy was there. Yeah, this guy.
Okay.
Is the guy.
Yep.
Brought it out, put it on the counter. We were having a conversation and just started huffing. I mean, just huffing this steam for 35 minutes, I think. Conversation with us, then right back into it like it was a ventilator. And it was just Vicks steam just going right down. I'm like, that's
Now I will say this. Radio broadcasts, hockey versus TV. I don't have to talk as much on TV. You don't have to describe as much as you do on radio. And I have 2 color analysts, plus we have Darren Pang and Jackie Redmond downstairs. There are 5 of us contributing. But I've done radio for 29 years with the Rangers, and there have been some playoff runs. 2014, for example, I was going back and forth in the conference final. Rangers were playing Montreal. I was working those on radio, and then LA against Chicago on TV just about every other day, and red eyes and flights. That was the time period where I was most concerned. Because it was a lack of sleep and a lot of flights and early morning flights on game days. But fortunately, no issues during that time.
Did you just have to put the cigs down for that run?
Yep.
No cig smoking? Yeah, I get it.
Nightmare.
Well, I should have thought of that back then.
Yeah, get that little grovel in there. Get a little grovel in there. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Kenny, it feels like you have called every single sport for so long, and throughout that time, so many of these sports have changed. Is there one sport you look at that has changed the most? I assume baseball is the only one that hasn't changed as much just because it's still boring. But as far as the other ones go, what sports do you
It's
look
not
at?
boring. Ratings are up.
I actually watched a baseball game this weekend, so I don't know why I would pick this time to say that. But Kenny, is there one sport that has changed the most out of the 4 major ones?
You know what? To be honest, Connor, and I don't do as much baseball as the other sports, anywhere between 5 and 10 games every summer on Fox. But I think baseball may be the answer because of the pitch clock in recent years. That's really sped it up, and a lot of strategy changes and the ghost runner and extra innings. As far as the other sports, we've seen new rules, and I think replay, especially in football and the NFL, when I started with Fox back in '94, that's when replay was first coming in, and the technology and, going to the replay rooms in the various sports, football in New York, hockey Situation Room in Toronto. Basketball, they go to Secaucus, New Jersey. So I think the replay, video review, challenge aspects in every sport, that's probably the biggest change. But I would say baseball, from a broadcasting standpoint, and I speak to high school and college broadcasting students every year, various camps and programs that I visit, and so many other announcers do as well. As far as play-by-play, hockey, especially on the radio, but hockey in general, radio or TV, it's just a continuous action for 60 minutes. You're calling the play. It's exciting. It's fast. Basketball, similar, 48 minutes, the ball's in action, but there are more whistles, more fouls, more stoppages. Football is the most rhythmic to call, and I know Pat's been in the booth for football games. And by the way, I love what you guys did during the college football playoffs, doing the play-by-play, right down on the field. That was very entertaining. But football, it's one play, and then it's 20 or 25 seconds for the analysts to come in. It's another play, 20 or 25 seconds. Baseball, the ball's only in play 8 to 12 minutes during an entire game. So if you're up in the booth, there's a lot of downtime to fill. So I think it's the most challenging. But the pitch clock has certainly sped it up over the last several years. I've spoken to baseball announcers. Howie Rose in New York, who does an unbelievable job with the Mets and called NHL games for 30 years. He said calling baseball now almost feels like a hockey game because of the speed between pitches, and you have to be right on it in case the next pitch is thrown. There's not as much time to tell stories in between pitches and in between outs.
Okay, sorry, you just blew my mind there with that 8 to 12 minutes of actual gameplay in a 4-hour baseball game. I tried to do the percentages there. So you do the math, 8 to 12, put it at 10. Baseball game is what, 240 minutes, 4 hours?
No, like 2.5 hours.
These days, with the pitch clock, 2.5, 240. They used to be 3 hours. I might have told you this story the last time I was on. I once worked a 20-inning game. Never went to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I remember. You dumped your pants.
Yeah.
Never went. Smoking cigs in the booth at that time.
These days, it's about 2.5 hours with the pitch clock. But they've done studies. It's actually only 8 to 12 minutes that the ball's in play during an average baseball game.
I'll tell you, I've been watching more baseball, just like Connor mentioned there. Ratings are up across all networks for baseball. I think it's because their superstars are playing well. But I guess it isn't it'll never be called a high action sport. Never be.
No way.
College baseball, though, had some action.
I don't know. The World Series last year.
It was awesome. It depends too, because if you get like a pitcher's duel, personally, I think that is incredibly, watching Skeens and he's just mowing people down. You got to think a lot of those balls are never getting put into play.
I love watching.
You know what I mean? And that's a super entertaining brand. It's just you can get some nights where
so many seats.
Yeah, a lot of empties.
So many open seats.
Right behind the plate,
Move
too.
the team.
He just needs to.
Great watching him, but
He's so good at baseball.
Go the Yankees, buddy.
Winning record since Don Kelly's taken over. They're playing salty ball.
Yeah, that's right. The Pirates are getting hot at the right time.
Just
Don't look
swept the
now.
Phillies.
Don't look now. Only got about.
That's a beautiful ballpark in Pittsburgh. Love that place.
Don't you think they should sell the team though, Kenny?
I probably haven't followed it as closely as you have, so I just love. I haven't been there in a while for baseball, but love working games. Yeah. Beautiful setting there.
Kenny, I put you in a terrible spot there. I put you in a bad spot there to say that, and I apologize.
Are you looking to buy the team? Could buy into the Pirates?
No, I don't. That's a few decades away. We got to get really lucky to be able to buy a team like the Pirates, or how expensive it is. The problem is the guy that owns it. He knows that too.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there on fat cash. And he doesn't care about making the team better, even though we got a guy. We got the guy. But speaking of that, we got the guy. He's playing well. Shohei's playing well. Aaron Judge is playing well. It's like all the stars are playing well across baseball. It's a good time to be a baseball fan. It's also a great time to be a hockey fan, especially if you're from South Florida. D-Bud has a question for you.
As Pat mentioned, South Florida kid, still a resident down there. In that bubble, at least, the sport has grown in popularity immensely. I'm even seeing in my neighborhood, hockey nets on the street that you would never see 10, 20 years ago. Have you felt it at all in your personal life as a commentator, now more people just talking about hockey? Because I feel like half the guys in here probably grew up hockey fans, but most guys, casual fans of sports, maybe that wasn't the case.
Well, in South Florida, absolutely. We've been coming down here for the last few years to do playoff games, but I've been coming here, ever since the Panthers entered the league in '93, and they did go to the final in '96. But after that, they went 25 years without winning a playoff series, and the building was half empty for a long time. And what they've been able to do over these last 4 years, they won the President's Trophy, best regular season record. Then they went to the Stanley Cup Final against Vegas, won the Cup last year. So it's been an unbelievable 4-year stretch. And Vinny Viola and his wife, Teresa, they own the team. The general manager, Bill Zito, they've all done an unbelievable job promoting the sport of hockey here in South Florida over this recent stretch. And now they have a great new practice facility. I was just over there this morning. It's in Fort Lauderdale, about 2 miles from the beach. So a lot of the players live in that area. Head coach Paul Maurice said he lives 2 blocks from the practice rink. He rides his bike to practice every day. Some of the players drive golf carts. So it's really become a destination in the NHL because of the way they treat their players, the weather, and just the level of talent that they have on this team. You know, they were an excellent team when they won the regular season title, but then they trade for Matthew Tkachuk, and that, you know, as far as culture, that just added to it. You know, the type of player and person that he is. He's out there, you know, amongst the fans, promoting the sport, and they have a superstar captain in Barkov and a superstar goaltender in Bobrovsky, and then they bring in a Brad Marchand and a Seth Jones prior to the deadline, and here they are, 3 wins away from another Stanley Cup. But you could sense, you know, all the games are sold out now. There's so much talk about hockey in the South Florida area, so we've certainly seen that here. But you look at the Wayne Gretzky influence, you know, he goes to L.A. in '88 and gets to a cup final in '93, and all of a sudden kids in California are playing hockey. Kids in some of the other warm weather states are playing hockey, the Sun Belt states. And now you look around, you have 2 teams in Florida that have gone to the final 6 straight years. Tampa Bay Lightning, 3 straight years, and now the Florida Panthers, 3 straight years. The Dallas Stars have been to the conference final 3 straight years. They won a cup. They won a cup back in '99. Vegas won a cup 2 years ago. The 2 teams in Southern California, the Kings won 2 cups. The Ducks won a cup back in 2007. So, you know, once Wayne went out there, and you know, he's such a humble man, you know, downplays it, but that trade of Gretzky from Edmonton to LA really set the table in the United States for these Sun Belt teams who have all had great success.
Yeah, it was a great move for hockey to get Wayne O down there. Wayne was emotional about leaving Edmonton.
Yeah, felt like he didn't want to.
Wayne was.
He was.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah, wound up, and he's still beloved in Edmonton. We were just up there with him for games 1 and 2. He's got a statue outside the arena. Helped lead the Oilers to the 4 cups, and then they won a 5th after he left in 1990. They still had some of the other superstar players, but he played such a large role, you know, obviously in the success in Southern California, and then all these other Sun Belt teams coming in as expansion teams. And you could throw in Nashville into the mix, and Carolina, you know, moving down from Hartford. And all those teams have enjoyed great success.
Hockey's the best. Hockey is awesome. I'm happy more people are learning about it. You know, hopefully more people get a chance to play it. Obviously, it's expensive. Hopefully, they're able to figure that out going forward to get more people on the ice. I liked hearing there's hockey nets on the street down there in South Florida. It's a great game. It's a great sport. Hey, Gumpy, what are they saying about Texas hockey down there? A lot of people playing hockey now, huh? Because DeBoer is running the show down there.
DeBoer got shit canned, actually. Turns out when you bury the franchise goalie, one of the best goalies in the league, they probably don't like it very much. So thanks for the good times, Pete, but hit the bricks, pal.
Kenny, as you brought up the Dallas Stars, we got a guy in the back who is a Dallas Stars fan from Victoria, Canada. So, I mean, you piece that together however you want. He also likes the Miami Dolphins, and he likes the Boston Red Sox. So he likes the Red Sox, the Miami Dolphins, and the Dallas Stars.
He's got every corner of North America covered with those teams.
Yeah, I didn't even think about
Dallas.
Go ahead.
Dallas has had, great runs. We did the conference final there 2 years ago, or I should say last year against Edmonton. They made the change. You know, we all know what took place with DeBoer pulling Ottinger in the last game of the Edmonton series, Game 5, and their general manager, Jim Dill, came out and said, it's time for a new voice. And Paul Maurice was asked about it. He and Pete DeBoer are very close. They played junior hockey together 30 years ago. And he said, you know, Pete will definitely get another job. He'll probably win. Jim Dill said Pete will probably win a Stanley Cup final. Wherever he goes next, he'll probably win a cup. He's been to the conference final, I think, 6 of the last 7 years. and he's brought 2 other teams to the Cup final. So he's a great coach. But, Pat, AJ, you guys know how it is in pro sports. I think the average life cycle in the NHL for a coach is probably 3 years. There are so many changes every year, and we'll see who the Dallas Stars wind up hiring. But they've had a great run, but they haven't been able to make that final step into the Cup final.
On that note, good luck to Coach Sully in New York. Thank you for the time in Pittsburgh that you had.
Yep.
Fired from Pittsburgh, signs the biggest contract in the history of coaching the next day for the Rangers or whatever. Just like
yeah, he's a great coach, great man. He was in New York as an assistant before under John Tortorella. So looking forward to the Mike Sullivan era in New York with the Rangers.
He brought us a lot of good times in Pittsburgh.
Penguins got a good one though.
You talking about Muse?
Yeah, I'm talking about
Dan Muse.
Dan
Dan Muse.
Magoo. Yeah.
That's not his
Yeah.
name.
He was a Rangers assistant.
That's the new coach.
Yeah, he's coach in Pittsburgh. He was a Rangers assistant. I've heard a lot of good things about him from people who were around some of his junior teams that he coached. Coached in the U.S. National Development Program. So he's one of those up-and-coming coaches. He's in his early 40s.
Yes.
That have been identified, at a young age. You look at Spencer Carberry in Washington and the job that he's done as a young coach in the NHL. Just won the Jack Adams Award as Coach of the Year. Chris Knobloch in Edmonton, his second season, his second trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. So
Chuck's brother.
the Penguins certainly hope Dan Muse can lead the Penguins in the same direction as Carberry and Knobloch have done with their teams.
I think a lot of people wondered about the framing of the photo of Dan Muse and the announcement of him being the new head coach.
Yeah.
Had him looking off to the side there. Could have had some sort of
It's actually his best.
maybe a better photo of Dan
Action
Muse.
shot.
He's looking down at the goal to the left side of the ice.
Oh, I got it, because that's where we're scoring on.
Bingo.
Big brain.
Right, so
Big brain.
huge brain. Him and Dubas are going to do a great job. Couple young lads there in Pittsburgh going to turn it all around.
No, Marco Stern.
No, Sidney Crosby told me a big night out. A couple more years, we're going to be doing exactly what we're doing here, packing this place out, having a good time chasing Lordo. Musey is going to take us there, brother. Don't you worry about
Yeah, I
that.
don't know about that.
Let's talk about you and your career. You said in 1990 you were maybe 7 years old whenever you got your start. We believe that you probably could have been able to do it as a 7-year-old, obviously because the family in which you come from. Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, Kenny, I believe I saw recently that you passed your father for second most, let me get it right here, all-time in national calls at close to 1,500 games, which is just absurd. All 4 major sports, obviously. Now that you're doing hockey right now, is hockey, you talked about it being the most action for sure as in the booth, but is it the most fun sport to call?
So a couple of things there. It's amazing that there are people that keep these lists of games called by announcers. There's a gentleman named Tony Miller in the Midwest who has a site on social media. It's called Unnecessary Sports Research. And he keeps charts of every sport, play-by-play announcers, color analysts, sideline reporters, etc. So it's fun to check it out and see what those numbers are. And last week, I guess I pulled into number 2. This is for NFL, NHL, NBA, and Major League Baseball national broadcasts. It doesn't count the local broadcasts. I think that would be too hard to keep track of. For example, I've probably worked over 2,000 local broadcasts as well. 3 years in Washington and now 29 years with the Rangers. But that's the national list, and it includes the other sports, like I said. Doesn't include, for example, college basketball, boxing, that a lot of others have done. But, it's a huge honor to just be a part of that list and see some of the other names that are on there. Dick Stockton, number 1 on that national list of the 4 sports. But very fortunate to be involved in all of them with Fox since 1994 on football. And like I said, some baseball during the summer, NHL on NBC for many years, Olympic hockey, which we're looking forward to again next year. And then NHL on TNT with an amazing crew for the last 4 years, and also do the Rangers and some Knicks fill-in on MSG. So lucky to be around great people as far as my color analysts, the executives, the production people. But yeah, crazy that it's that many games. It does not include the college wrestling event I did back in the mid-90s. That's probably the one event where I felt like I had no clue what I was doing, even though I prepared and talked to an Olympic wrestler, Jeff Blatnick, and had a great color analyst that day. And that was probably the one. I've done some other sports at the Olympics, water polo, track and field, volleyball, but the college wrestling probably the one where I really felt like I had no clue what I was watching.
What the hell did he get a point for there? See, points fly, and he gets up. They put him down. Was that Matt Madness? You called Matt Madness?
This was the ACC, speaking of college sports, it was the ACC Wrestling Championships in Chapel Hill back in 94, 95, that era.
I wish I could have pulled it.
By the way, Pat, when I was 7, I was calling games into a tape recorder in my bedroom at home. So I was doing it back then.
Do we have those saved? Do we have those tapes?
I have some of them. I do.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't wait for you
I could bring them on the show next time if you'd like.
Hey,
it might scare some people away.
We would love that. I just assume whenever you go into all the Hall of Fames, they will have that in the intro videos. We appreciate your service to sports. You're the man. We can't wait to watch you tonight.
Well, thanks so much for having me on, Pat, AJ, the rest of the gang. Really appreciate it. A lot of fun, and hopefully Game 3 is just as exciting as Games 1 and 2.
We assume it will be because hockey is awesome. Just like you and your entire TNT crew. Tell everybody we said hello. Ladies and gentlemen, the man,
Okay.
Kenny Albert.
Hey.